Good morning, bookie bashers, run line smashers, total hustlers, dog line crushers, and this is Light It Up with your boy Dom Rici here.
Light it up. So about to begin.
Yes, sir. Light It Up is ready to begin. How's everybody tonight? This is our first real show of the new Light It Up, not the baseball version, which will be back soon, as I talked about last week. But everybody, I appreciate you coming in. We're going to have some fun tonight, and we are going to keep this thing going as far as you'll let us. So hopefully you jump in the chat. I'll be talking about a bunch of different topics tonight. And if you guys want to go on to our new Who-Bangin Sports Talk channel Twitter page, you could maybe comment on there or comment on the YouTube. I know sometimes it's not convenient for everybody to watch, but hopefully you guys all know it's recorded, so hopefully you'll watch at a future date or you'll retweet the show if anybody that missed it, and they can watch too. So anyhow, let's just get it going. And first thing we're going to do is let's talk a little bit about last week and a few different things that happened. For instance, last Thursday night, that Cleveland Brown-Pittsburgh game, that was crazy. Would really love to know what everybody thought about the first of all, about the end of the game with the ejection and only a 6-game suspension for Myles Garrett. I thought that was kind of crazy. I love the way the NFL put it. They said he's going to have a 6-game suspension plus the playoffs. Yeah, it's the Cleveland Browns. We know they're not getting to the playoffs. So, in my estimation, that probably should have been into next year, this suspension also, because there's no need for that at the end of the game. And you're taking off a helmet and you're swinging it at an opposing team player. I mean, if the quarterback, it doesn't matter who it was crazy. The thing I wonder about really is what would happen if that was Tom Brady that Garrett was going after? What if that was who's that other? Oh yeah, Aaron Rodgers, the other favorite of the officials. Well, I wonder what the suspension would be for that. For me, I think it would be double what it was. I think they would go into next year if it was something like that. Hell, if it was Tom Brady, they might have the police come on the field and arrest the guy. So that was the first thing I seen as far as last week. Something we could definitely keep on talking about and see what happens for the future, because I think the refs now are going to be really on the case, and especially with the Cleveland Browns. For those of you guys that watched the game last week, in the third quarter, I believe it was, that was the first incident in the third quarter with there was that hit on Dante Johnson. It was a crazy hit, a head-to-head helmet. His ear was bleeding, and Randall, that's right, it was Randall who made the hit. He got ejected, and I had a feeling that might have had everybody stirred up a little bit. And then I'm not really sure what happened at the end of the game. All of a sudden, I just noticed that everybody started piling on, and then the ejection happened, and the helmet swinging and all that stuff. So, yeah, these Cleveland Browns, I'll tell you, they just can't get out of their own way. Every time you think they're going to turn the corner, they made a big quarterback, with Mayfield. They got Odell Beckham. They got all these guys coming on, and I'll tell you, they're still the same old Browns. I can't believe that ownership would actually get rid of their coach, Freddie Kitchens, right away, even though he's doing a terrible job. I guess they couldn't admit that they were wrong 2 years in a row like that. So, the Cleveland Browns, they're one of those teams, like I said, they just can't get out of their own way. So that was last week. Another thing that I noticed last week that kind of annoyed me a little bit, but I was happy on some respects, was the Major League Baseball awards. Of course, you guys know that I was happy that Jason DeGrom got the Cy Young, and he deserved it. If you look at his analytics and if you look at his record, besides the wins, losses, and like I've been saying all year long, win, losses, and ERA to me are the worst stats to go by to decide if you like a pitcher or not in a game. I mean, I hardly even look at that. And this Cy Young really proves why. DeGrom was a lot better than Rio, who came in second. And I think Rio's problem might have been his stumbling at the end of the year as opposed to how DeGrom stumbled a little bit at the beginning of the year. So that might have been, held in the writers' back of their head. But Jason DeGrom is still the best pitcher, I think, in baseball. And at least arguably, I mean, you could argue the point, he's got to be in the 1, 2, or 3, that's for sure. Jason Verlander getting it, I guess you can't complain, even though it's that Houston Astros, and we'll talk about that in a minute. What I didn't agree with was the Cardinals manager getting the manager of the year. I know that it's about regular season. I know it's not about the playoffs, but Martinez from the Nationals did a great job with that team. We all know about the 18-37 or 36, whatever that start was in the middle of May. We all know about the turnaround. And the second half of the year, who was hotter than the Nationals? I mean, yeah, the Cardinals put on a good push at the end, but when it came down to the last week of the season, they were starting to falter, and then we know what happened in the playoffs. But we got to keep the playoffs out of that, I know. So, regular season, I believe Martinez deserved it more so than the Cardinals manager. And then as far as the Twins manager, Rocco over there getting the Twins thing, I mean, he's one of my paisans, but again, I don't really know if the Twins deserved it. The Twins, of all teams, faltered at the end and ended up, not doing what they were supposed to do, and we know what happened with them in the playoffs too. That I really didn't agree with those managers of the year. I thought maybe the Astros manager deserved it a little bit more, but the Twins didn't really bother me as much as the Cardinals one. So as far as I'm concerned, Martinez deserved it. Another thing about last week, I know baseball is over, and I keep on bringing it up because things just keep on happening. I mean, these Astros now getting caught stealing. Now, I know we all know about stealing signs, and stealing signs is kind of part of the game if the team is going to be that lax. So a guy could pick up the signs with binoculars or from the dugout. That's all fair game. But when you're hooking up TV monitors in the back of the dugout, in between, they said there was behind home plate, in between the locker room and the dugout, they had a TV where guys could go and look, and they were feeding off the main off the camera that was going on the catcher. They were feeding off of that and having their monitor. I mean, to me, that is just outright stealing. That is just outright electronic stealing, and it's in the rule books. No electronic stealing. So I tell you, I think they should come down hard on the Astros. It was compared to the Patriots and Belichick and Brady with Spygate and with the Flakegate. A lot of comparisons were made there, and the penalties that the Pats got. Well, I think that the Astros deserve the same thing. Of course, they shouldn't be suspended the games, but they should be fined big, and they should lose maybe a few draft choices. So I would love to know what people think about that. If they think, what do you think the Astros penalty should be? Should it be game suspensions? Should it be monetary, or should it be draft picks, or maybe a combination? Maybe we'll put up a one of those polls on Twitter, and we'll see if DJ or Big Ragu could put up one of those polls after the show about that, and we'll see what everybody thinks about that. So that's something that I think is going to be talked about more. I think that this story isn't going away. As a matter of fact, today in the Post, the New York Post, which is kind of becoming like New York's version of the Inquirer, but be that as it may, I was always a daily news guy, but the New York Post has supposedly had a video of them after the game about guys grabbing the this monitor where it is, and after every game, and shuffling it away very quickly. So they talked about the video. I didn't see it, but let's see if they produce it, because that would be some damaging information. The last thing I want to really talk about last week's in review is NCAA football and what happened to the Alabama quarterback. Tua got hurt, and now I guess maybe it's not as bad as they thought at first, but let's just play devil's advocate and say that this hip surgery, which he had today, and thankfully he'll be back with the team, they said, in a few days. and he'll be rehabbing. But I tell you, it really made me think more and more on the side, which I've been leaning towards, that the players should be getting paid. I mean, look at this guy Tua. He's been talked about now for a couple of years. He was, even talked about coming when we drafted out of high school. The money he has generated for that school is just unbelievable. And if he got hurt where it's a career-ending injury, he's a Heisman candidate. He definitely has a big NFL contract in his future. What happens if that was all gone and all that was left of him was the money he produced for Alabama and for NCAA football in general? So to me, that's another question, another poll maybe we could have, or another discussion that we could have. Should NCAA players be paid? I think they should be. And I tell you, I would love to know what other people think about that, because I don't understand the reason why you wouldn't think. I know there's a lot of sports involved that you can't just pay one without the other, but there could be some kind of formula where the teams that let's face it, the Crimson Tide is producing a lot of money for that school, and now those players are worth more than the field hockey team is, or the softball team if they have one, So there has to be some kind of formula where, whatever the worth is to the school, they should be played. Otherwise, just have a small stipend, something. These guys should be getting paid. These girls should be getting paid. Look at women's basketball. The college basketball with the girls is huge. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It has been for a while. I mean, the Connecticut girls have been, the Tennessee girls. I mean, these teams are producing a lot of money for these schools. So I'm all for them getting paid. And that Tua injury really made me think about it and what he means to the school. And so, like I said, what you guys think about that, I would love to know. We're pretty soon. What we're going to do is get my boy Josh Point in here with his NH. We have a little NHL recap going to come up for the first 18 games or so. But until he comes on, let's what we're going to do is let's jump into Rici's Rants.
Get ready for Richie's Rants.
Did you hear what they said? Testing. Modern technology.
Get out of here.
Yeah, get out of here is right. I'll tell you, more and more things that get me crazy when I hear things. And I'll tell you, it's not always sports. A lot of times there's a lot of other things that's going on in around. You hear the craziest things. Just like for instance today, before I came on, I'm watching the news and I hear about this pet parrot. That's one of those pets that the people have to have the pet with them. The emotional pets. I forget the name of what they call them, but this guy has a pet parrot that he tried to take on an airplane. So they made him put it in a cage. And the damn thing died on the flight. And I was trying to sue the airline for his emotional support animal. It was a damn parrot. Talk about get out of here. Are you kidding me? At least keep it to a dog or something, a parrot. And now, of course, what's he trying to do? Like everybody else tries to do, sue. Is that funny or what? So that's that thing just, I wasn't part of my rants tonight, but that was part of it. But what is part of my rants is Colin Kaepernick and the NFL. Come on. First of all, can the NFL ever get this right? They have been doing the whole Kaepernick thing for now 3 years. We've been listening to it, and I don't care what side you're on. I'm not even going to talk about if I agree with him or not. I don't even care about that. What I care about that was still hearing about it. Now, at first, if you thought that he got blackballed, if you thought that he deserved another shot, of course, everybody deserves another shot. The NFL should have gave it to him then. Now it's 3 years later. Now we got Jay-Z involved. And now he's trying to, I think Jay-Z has a lot to do with this whole thing because he's trying to make his worth with, he's trying to make his worth with them. And I'll tell you, with the NFL, with his whole little collaboration with Goodell. And I think they were just doing this to try to appease him. But it was a farce. First of all, if you really cared about if it was Kaepernick was going to get a fair workout, you wouldn't have it on a Saturday. You would have had it. First of all, it's week 11. So I don't know what team he was going to go on, what system he was going to learn in week 11. But let's keep that to the side. They put it on a Saturday where there's no general manager, no owners were going to be there. They wouldn't put out a list of the people they were going to send, and it was just a big publicity stunt. As Big Ragu just typed into the chat, it's exactly right, a big publicity stunt. And I'll tell you, and Kaepernick, like I said, I don't if you're on his side or not, he's wrong about this too, because he made it more of a farce by canceling the workout and then putting it into another place. He should have canceled it from the beginning and tell them, I don't want to participate in your farce. If I'm going to do a private workout like he ended up doing for himself, he should have picked the time and place. He should have picked it on a Tuesday or a Wednesday where no one had an excuse. The GMs or the owners had no excuses to go. So as far as I'm concerned, they're all wrong. The NFL keeps on screwing this up. And it's amazing. It's amazing. So I guess this is not the last we heard about Kaepernick. The funny part is not one person, not one team called him yet. And again, just to get off the Kaepernick subject, he hasn't played in 3 years. A year ago, I wanted him. Last year, I wanted him as a backup for the Jets. I thought he could be a backup in the league 2 years ago. We know that he was like a flash in the pan, and as a starter, they kind of catching on to him and his running style and stuff, and teams are starting to catch up to him. But he still would have been a decent backup. And whatever happened with the whole political thing is another thing. But 3 years later, I don't want anybody out of the game for 3 years. I don't want to hear about his workouts are maniacal, was the word his agent put out. I don't care if you're working out 8 hours a day. If you're not if you're not in the game playing football, getting hit, then you're not, ready to go. So that's my take on Kaepernick. I guess it's not the last we're going to hear about him, but hopefully no teams even call him and it'll be over with, or someone hires the damn guy. And maybe this time he'll get his girlfriend to shut her mouth and he'll get hired for a team, and we could stop this whole nightmare of the NFL and Colin Kaepernick. My last rant is going to be something that has nothing to do with sports, just like like the first rant. These gender reveal parties are, I know you're like, what? Yes, gender reveal parties. Have you noticed that these things are getting out of hand so much that people are actually dying over gender reveal parties? Last week, a crop duster plane, there it is, a crop duster plane full of 350 gallons of blue water was dropping the reveal over the field, stalls out and crashes. Luckily, this stupid bastard didn't get killed, and he didn't kill nobody around him. But that's what I'm talking about with these stupid gender reveal parties. It went from someone putting blue icing or blue frosting in the middle of a layer cake and cutting it to this. And I just can't believe that that's what it is. Another one I read about was people have a pet alligator. I mean, that's its own rant already, a pet alligator. And they had a watermelon they filled it up with some blue liquid. I guess, I don't know how they did it. I guess like how you fill a watermelon up with vodka. And they opened up the alligator's mouth, the pet alligator again. Yes, the pet one. Opened up his mouth, threw it in, and when he chomped on it, the blue came out. Everybody's running, everyone's there, kids, adults, all laughing and clapping. After this is all over, what does the alligator do? He turns around and starts going after somebody. Two guys have to jump on him. I mean, what, are you kidding me? So, yes, that was one of those, that definitely goes onto the heading of get out of here. And, that's been under my craw for a while. And I'll tell you, on a personal side, I just found out last week that my daughter is pregnant again, and she's gonna have a second child, and I'm gonna have a second grandchild. And the first thing I told her was, one of my Rici's rants is gender reveal parties, so don't get any ideas anyhow. So that's Rici's rants anyhow. And next week we'll get into some more. What I would love to see if some people would comment on the Rici's rants, and if we have any good ones, any funny ones, we'll talk about it next week, and then we'll start getting some swag together, and we'll start giving out some swag. Ragu opened up the beast today with giving out swag, so I guess we'll start doing that. All right, folks. Hope you enjoyed that Rici's rant. But this is why I'm here today and I'm glad on my first show to bring in a good friend of mine, someone I got to hang out with in Miami in August. He's a great guy. Really, we know him from the chat. We know how good he is with the sports, but just in general, just a real guy, a real straight up guy, a real nice guy. One of our friends from up north, Josh Point oh. Welcome in, Josh. How are you doing, brother?
Hey, Dom. How is everybody doing tonight?
Good. I'm glad you hear me. The technical stuff.
Yes. Sorry about that. I guess I need to hop out.
No, it ain't you. Listen, it ain't you. I'm just learning as I'm going along. I've been a work in progress. I've been DJ student for the last couple of weeks on the crash course of technical.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'll tell you. But it's fun, and I'm starting to like it. So.
Absolutely.
What we're doing here with Who-Bangin and stuff is fun. We're starting to get a little traction. We got some people listening to us. Like last week on the lounge. I don't know if you heard.
I was.
Are you in the chat? Yeah. That was one of my technical difficulties. Was getting into that chat. But anyhow, while I was on the show, but we had David Boston on, ex NFL star from the Cardinals, which was great to have him on. And I'll tell you, Josh, the same way we met, he found us through the low baggers. He found out, he's a gambler, and he's been searching YouTube, and he ran across, betting with the bag, and he's a big football bettor, and he took notice right away of the great cappers we have, especially with the NCAA, with Doc, with Big Ragu and DJ Do, and he caught on to a couple of those Colorado State games that DJ put out, and he just texted DM DJ out of nowhere, told us who he was, said he enjoys us, he heard all of our names, and blah blah blah. So DJ being Johnny on the stick, asked him right away, "You want to come in the show?" And he accepted. So it was great having him on, and he's a big fan of the Pick Six show, and he's a big fan of all the low baggers. So it just shows you what we're doing all together. That's exactly. A great thing.
I found out the same way just by going online, and we have similar interests, obviously. He seems like a really cool guy, actually. I watched the whole show. He seems like a pretty stand-up guy. He said he was following some of Doc's picks there, and he was doing pretty good with those. And he seems like an all right guy.
That was great, right? That was a cool thing. And then today he came in on Jimmy's show and
I saw that briefly. He mentioned your name actually there too.
Yeah. He's a real nice guy. Very very nice. No air about him or nothing. Just a regular guy on the street. So we always like that. But anyhow, why I asked you to come in tonight, Josh? Yeah. You're one of my NHL guys, and you're one of my cappers that I love to talk about hockey with. And it's a new season. NHL, I kind of thought when this show would start, we'd be more into like the 25 games or so. But for some reason, it just seems to be going slow out of the gate. There's only like 18 games as the top. I noticed the Rangers and the Devils, I think, only have 15 games in, I believe. But 18 is the most. But still, the NHL season has started. There's a few things, a few surprises, I guess. And first of all, I was wondering what do you think about the new season off the top?
Yeah, for me, it's actually, first of all, let me say congratulations on the new grandkid coming, and also on this show, man. The show lighted up. It's a great idea, and I hope everything goes well for you. So good luck with that.
Yeah, thank you, brother.
The season for me, I'm kind of the opposite of you. I'm like, we're at the quarter mark of the season already. It seems like it just started the other day. Some teams have only played, 17 games, 18 games, and then other teams like 22, 23 already.
Right.
Lots of back-to-backs for some of the teams. And, it's interesting. We're sitting here at the quarter mark of the season, and we're starting to see some teams, take off, getting heated up. Some got off to a slow start. And I'm
Yes.
starting to pick it up now. And with it being the quarter mark, you can only, it's only a sample size. We can't take too much out of it. But now we're going to look at the next 18, 20 games or so, and we'll start to see which teams are for real and which teams, are just a mirage,
Yeah. Coming out of the gate, I'll tell you, I was a little bit surprised of. First of all, I was surprised that the Islanders had such a hot
Oh, yeah.
start. I like to look for trends. I like to look for streaks. I try to do that a lot with these long season
Yep.
type of things like baseball. That's I look at that a lot, and I definitely missed this Islander streak that they went on. That was a little shocking to me. Was it to you?
10 in a row. I mean, where did that come from? At the beginning of the season, well, their one off-season move that they made, the big one was getting rid of or not re-signing Robin Leonard. And then they brought in Semyon Varlamov for pretty much the same money, who's more injury prone. And I thought that was a bit of a gamble. I didn't see that paying off, to be honest, but it certainly has. They only have 3 losses, 14-3-1, I think they are, something like that.
Yeah.
And they just went on a
11-3-0. They have 14 games played. They were 11-3-0 so far. Yeah. 7-2 at home, 4-1 away. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. But 10-4 against the spread. That's the big number.
Is that right?
Yeah. It's the Islanders. But yeah, I agree with you. I was kind of surprised that the Islanders took off like that. I tell you what they're doing with the front office and that coach really made a big difference.
Oh, absolutely.
When they made that switch, and now it's starting to really pay dividends, right?
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Barry Trotz, proven coach, one of the most respected coach in the entire league, and bringing in Lou Lamoriello also as the GM. They made some moves. Some people question them, like I just said. I did, but they're starting to pay off, and we're starting to see some early returns on that. And like I said, it's still early in the season. Sample size. We'll see what happens the next 20 games or so, and see if they can keep up the hot streak. And they've got Washington right there too, who's just lighting it up. Absolutely, they're just on a tear. So they're gonna have to go back and forth with them all season.
Yeah, they're 11-2. I mean, 4-1, 2 away, 7-1 away, 4-1 and 2 at home, 11-5 against the spread. I mean, that's another team. A lot of times I look for the teams that really played well at the end of the year not to come out so strong. And Washington's another team that surprised me. They coming. I thought they have maybe a little bit, a little flat coming out, like the Vegas Golden Knights have been.
Yeah.
Talk about a team that is going the other way of the teams that we're talking about. I would say the Vegas Knights. I mean, they had a big win, I guess, last night. That was.
Oh, they've
been playing terrible.
They won 6-0 last night. I caught the end of that game. Oh man, they were on fire. And Calgary, another team that's going in a tailspin right now. They're not doing too well, and they have all the pieces. They have a lot of skill, a lot of speed up front. For whatever reason, they're just can't. No, they're not getting it together lately, and I think they need to kind of slow down and regroup and get another fresh start for this next second quarter mark of the season.
Yeah.
Another team that started off very slow was the Dallas Stars. They were the biggest surprise at the beginning of the season. They won, I think it was one game out of their first 7, and now they're 10-1-1 in their last 12, which they've really turned it around. But the biggest disappointment for them has been their top 2 offensive players, Tyler Seguin and Jamie Benn. Jamie Benn just scored his 2nd goal of the season.
That's what it was.
Second goal. He won it in overtime on Saturday for them.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, if those two don't get it going over long term over the season, they're not going to have that success down the road. But if they can come together and start gelling better or start playing better, I don't know. Maybe they need a kick in the ass or whatever. Jamie Benn's a great player. He has been for years and years. He's every year 25, 35 goals. And this year he's only got 2 so far. And so it's been a rough start for him. Tyler Seguin as well. He's only got 5 goals in the first 21 games or whatever they're at. And, that's not – well, he just got off to a slow start, but he needs to pick it up, and they need to start playing better together, and they can keep this run going.
Yeah, that team, I'll tell you, last year, towards the end of the year, they really started picking up some steam. They started winning some games and stuff. And I thought for a minute there they they were going to make a push, and then they just fizzled out, you know. And they
Yeah.
seem to like to be on the middle of the pack, and it seems like that's where they are again. I mean, they're 8-8 now, so it's amazing that they got to 8-8 with that start, I guess. But what I've noticed is just what you were saying about the Dallas Stars scoring. They're under and over. They got 4 overs to 13 unders.
Is that
I mean,
right?
that shows you that they're doing some good goaltending, but
Yeah.
they're not scoring. You know, they're not getting over that 6. You know, every game I tell you, we don't even see 5 no more. We don't even see 5 no more. 5 is gone. 5 has been replaced by 6.5.
Yeah,
But
that's right.
but yeah,
Well,
it's amazing that sometimes when teams like that aren't scoring, and but like you say, it's the beginning of the year. It'd be interesting. What we could do is wait another couple of weeks, maybe wait another 15, 20 games, and then revisit what we're talking about tonight and see what teams if they made that turnaround now, because that's going to be more towards the midway of the regular season, and now we can really start. You know, making some projections toward the end. I'm not a big future player in general, but especially in hockey, I don't really like playing the futures, especially in hockey. To me, it's just what happens at the beginning of the year could just be so different than the end of the year. What do you think about teams like Pittsburgh, Carolina, Toronto? They're right. They're all right. They're playing good. They're not a top yet, but what's your feelings on let's say Pittsburgh? I know Crosby's hurt, but do you think Pittsburgh has
Pittsburgh's
that steam like last year?
They've been injury riddled, that's for sure.
Yes.
Malkin went down early in the season. Now Crosby's out. Letang's out. Patrick Hornqvist was out the other night against Toronto. They laid a beating on Toronto the other night. I had to turn that game off. I couldn't take it anymore. But if they can just hold on and survive and get through these injuries, and then come back and after another 10 games or so, and if they can just survive that, just hang on, play some decent hockey, and at least win a couple more than they lose, then they'll be sitting pretty. And that's gonna be a tough division too, because like you said, you mentioned Carolina, another team who made some good offseason moves, and they've been playing really well lately also.
Yes.
They're up there with Washington, Pittsburgh. That's a tough division. Also, your New York Rangers, who got off to a slow start. They're starting to gel a little bit now.
Very young team.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, very young team. They got a good coach. Man, I really like the coach, Quinn. He's a good guy. But yeah, they're a young team. They've made they had a couple of good games. They played some good hockey. They beat a few decent teams already, but yeah, it's taken them a while to gel. I really wasn't expecting much, but they're playing exciting hockey. It looks like they're into it, and we'll see what happens. It's tough with young teams sometimes, and with the Rangers too, we're in that in this thing of we don't know how many years does Lundqvist have left. He's starting to slip a little bit. How much do you use him?
Yeah,
the way they have the goalies today, the backups are almost really like starters on some teams.
Well,
you don't see those. You're not going to get those like Brodeur type streaks no more in hockey. With goalies, you're not going to get those. The way they do it now. I don't know. He's always been one of my favorite Lundqvist, but lately he's been showing his age a little bit.
Yeah, he's 37 now. We'll see how long he's got left, but. They also have, they brought in Jacob Trouba in the offseason, Artemi Panarin. They drafted Kapu Kaku second overall from Finland, and I'm excited to see what this kid does, because he got off to a bit of a slow start, but now he's up to 6 goals already. He's got a couple assists. Artemi Panarin's, showing that he can live up to his contract, and he's got 9 goals already. And once they got to start playing better defensively, in my opinion. The offense doesn't seem to really be the issue so far. The backup Gorgiev has been pretty good. Lundqvist, like you said, starting to show his age a little bit. But if they can manage his workload a little bit, then I think that they can compete. They can take steps in the right direction to show that they're improving. And maybe this isn't the year for them, but small steps, and
Small
they can go
steps.
back strong next year.
So tell me your feelings on your team, on those the Toronto Maple Leafs.
It's not Leaf
Go
land
ahead.
is not very much
Josh
good
Point
things
Rant,
going
a
on.
Josh Point Rant, the
Yeah,
Toronto
well,
Maple Leafs.
people around Toronto are starting to call for Babcock's head. They are thinking that maybe he's not the right coach for the team. That maybe either the players have tuned him out, or they're not playing for him. They don't want to win. They're not putting in enough effort. Some onus has to go on the GM too. Defensively, they're abysmal, garbage. Penalty kill, 5-on-5, power play. It's all around. They are playing like absolute garbage right now. And I know we've talked about this a few times. It's only small sample size, but they've left themselves with no room for error in the next 20 to 40 games. There's 60 games left, but there's no room for error. They have to get their shit together and get it going, because they're in tough. Tampa Bay is another team,
Yes,
who's not got off to a good start, but they're going to be in it in the end. Boston's running away with it. Montreal is another surprising team who's got some good offense so far this season.
I was just going to bring them up to you. Yeah, that's another team that team always, like last year. Again, I go back to last year. I was doing well with the Canadiens. I was kind of catching them on the right games. I was doing well betting with them. And I thought they were another team. I thought they were going to catch on. And they seem to always end up in that middle of the road for some reason. I just don't know what it is. But hopefully this year they'll turn it around. I love the way they're playing. I like their squad. I think they play hard. I think they play, I think their defense is good. You liking what you're seeing from the Canadiens?
Yeah, I mean, Leafs fan, we obviously have that back and forth all the time. But,
Yes.
Honest to God, I do want to see that old rivalry renew, because it's been a long time since we've seen it. Montreal was good for so many years and Toronto was shit. Then it kind of flip-flopped a little bit, and now they're both, playing. They have a shot to both make the playoffs, and I want to see that rivalry renewed. And, for years, they couldn't find size at center. They had Galchenyuk. They traded him away. They've just been small and Brendan Gallagher kind of players. And now they've been playing really well. Carey Price has been back to his usual self. He didn't have a great year. Well, last year was okay. The year before, not great. But, I want to see them to keep going, pick it up, and I'd love to see that Toronto-Montreal rivalry again, man. That'd be a lot of fun.
No, there's nothing like it. I mean, we got this. The Ranger Islander rivalry is always good, even when the teams suck, even when one of the teams is a lot worse than the other. The rivalry is always there. It actually almost gets out of hand at times. I mean, if you go to an Islander game or a Ranger game and they're not even playing the team, there's still chants at the Garden. They do this whistle thing. At the end of it, they chant "Islanders suck." They do it, when the Islanders aren't even playing,
Yeah.
And they have this whole song at the Islanders, especially at the Nassau Coliseum. They got this whole little song about the Rangers. It's just so funny, man. And but the rivalry is great. I mean, that's what keeps sports alive, right? The rivalries and us, on different teams and talking about different players and different things like that. That's why I love it, But as far as the hockey, before we wrap this up, what is your feeling on the Vegas Golden Knights? Do you think they're going to turn it around? Do you think, or is this going to be a year that it's just going to be the way they're playing? I mean, every time I thought so far they were going to turn it around, they haven't. We've seen some brutal losses by that team. A matter of fact, a couple weeks ago. And I started the story, so sorry, Doc. I have to bring it up again. But we were sitting in the sports book, me and Ragu at the Orleans, and it was a Thursday night. It was before everybody showed up, and we were watching the Canadians against the Knights.
No
way. And the Knights were at home, and it was Doc had the back end of a 14 parlay, and it was the Vegas Knights on the puck line. They're ahead, I think it was 5-3 with maybe 6 minutes to go, and the Canadians rattled off 3 goals in a row before the end of the game. They lost
Oh,
6-5,
wow.
or if it was 5-4, whatever the hell it was. They rattled off 3 goals in like 6 minutes, and it was just, we were like, what the hell? And then I've noticed the Knights since that 2 weeks, they've had some clunkers along the way. I've lost a couple times against them, thinking they lost 3 in a row, they're going to win, and they lose again. So I mean, last night was 6-0, but we'll see what happens. I'm not sure who they're playing tomorrow night. I'll give it a look. But
They're
what do you think
Toronto.
about them? Do you think they're going to turn it around, or
Yeah,
do you
well,
think it's what
I
we see?
watched the game. I watched the third period last night against Calgary,
Okay.
and man, they looked like
Calgary.
they were dominant. They,
Right.
Toronto's in Vegas tomorrow night, so I have a lean towards them tomorrow. Vegas, that is. You know what? They've got a lot of good pieces. They're a pretty, they're a veteran group, and after having last year and so far this season to play together and get to know each other, and they're still playing for that city, man. The city loves Vegas, right?
Yeah, they
see
do.
what happens when the Raiders come in, but I mean, for now, they love their Knights, and I really do think they'll get it turned around and keep it going. I'm not worried about them really.
I got you.
They
Okay.
are, right?
All right, that's cool. I mean, they already have the goalies listed. Sometimes when they list the goalies the day before, I'm not always 100% sure about that. But I do have Anderson and Fleury listed. And I got the game as Vegas minus 145.
145.
I'm seeing 145, but I'm looking at a local, New York local.
Yeah.
And
Sounds
they
right.
have 6.5 as a total. So that's one guy I was going to ask you any leans for tomorrow night. So Vegas is one of those teams, and so if we're going to pick a few teams going, let's say we do another one of these 20 games from now, you think we'll be singing a different tune about the Vegas Golden Knights?
Yeah, absolutely. A couple bumps in the road early in the season, that's normal for teams like that. It happens. They'll get back. Yeah.
I mean, not to beat a dead horse, but look at the Washington Nationals, right?
Oh,
Teams
yeah,
turn it around, right?
There you go.
It happened with these long seasons with basketball, and especially with the NBA, with with NHL, with MLB. These seasons are so long that sometimes I get surprised when I hear some people getting so crazy about teams at the beginning of the year. Anything can happen,
Exactly.
But,
look at
you spoke about Calgary. Do you think they're? I mean, they're not playing well at all, but do you think they're going to make that? I mean, they ended the year pretty good last year, didn't they?
Yeah, they sure did. Yeah, they're gonna have to start playing better.
That's for sure.
There's no excuse.
Is a question, right?
They've got size, speed, skill. They've got it all. The goaltending. I'm not so sure about this Riddick guy, but
I was just going to ask you about Riddick.
He's another again. He had last year. He was backing up Mike Smith, I believe.
I believe so.
And so far this year, he's been. I wouldn't say he's off to a rough start, but like I said, they just got to start playing better defensive hockey, and and the offensive has kind of disappeared too with them. They got to start scoring some goals. Johnny Hockey and Sean Monahan, guys like that, need to get it going. And I don't know. Well, I guess
they got Colorado tomorrow night.
Colorado.
They got Colorado coming into town tomorrow night. Colorado's 12-8-2, and Calgary's 10-10. So it's time for them to make that switch. They're not playing well at home, Calgary. That's the surprising part.
It hasn't. It's only been really the past couple of weeks. Maybe it's just a bump in the road for them as well. Like I said, they are. We saw what they did last season. That's another team I wouldn't be surprised if they turned it around and they were in it at the end. But they got to get it going. 20 games down, and
I'll tell you. Now that I'm looking at tomorrow night, we have a couple. We got 3 really good games. We got the Islanders at Pittsburgh. We have the Wild in Buffalo. That's not so. Oh no, here's the one. Tampa Bay at St. Louis. That should be a good game too.
That's a good game.
Yeah, St. Louis. And then we will talk about the Dallas.
What's the line on that, Dom?
They got Vancouver. On the Tampa Bay St. Louis game, we got St. Louis plus 100. It opened up at minus 105 and already jumped to plus 100. Now I'm looking at right now. I'm looking at covers. I'm on covers.com looking at the matchup, the way they put it, so easy to look over while we're on the show.
It's in St. Louis, right?
But it's in St. Louis, and Covers has it at at minus 105 and plus 100. I don't have the SBR page up for tomorrow's games yet, but that's what they have it listed. And with a 6, with a open, and the total opened up at 6, and now it went up to 6.5. So that's interesting. That's at Tampa Bay, 3-7 on the road this year. No, 3-7. That's the puck line. Away they are. Let's see if I have that stat here. Oh yeah, no, on the road they are 5-4-1 on the road.
Okay,
and St. Louis is 5-2-1-2 at home. So that should be a great game. That should be a good matchup.
St. Louis plays a playoff style hockey. Very physical and grind it out. Whereas Tampa Bay is more speed and skill. The power play, the one timer from the hash marks, and Vasilevsky is the goalie, Tampa's goalie. Hasn't been that great. I think he's 7-5, but he got his big contract in the offseason last year.
That's right.
And he's not playing. He's not doing he's not living up to that contract. He's not doing what's been expected of him. And, part of that's also on the penalty kill. The penalty kills, they led the league last year in penalty kill, Tampa. And I think they're in 22nd now at like 76% on the penalty kill. So they've got they had a couple minor injuries early in the season, and they've only played 17 games also. They have a lot of games in hand on some of the other teams. So another team that we'll see, maybe we'll be talking about them in a few weeks from now and at the halfway point of the season, and we'll see where they're at. If I was betting on it, I would bet that they turn it around pretty quick and get going. Like I said, they've only played 17 games, so they've had a lot. They'll be rested. They'll have a lot of energy. As far as tomorrow, I would probably lean St. Louis in that game.
You sure would if I tell you these little trends that are going on. But I would lean them too. I'm a little surprised of the line movement already. That it went in Tampa Bay's favorite, Tampa Bay's favor. Yeah. It's a head-to-head trend. Lightning is 1-6 in the last 7 meetings in St. Louis, and they're 3-8. Lightning are 1-6 in the last 7 in St. Louis, and they're 3-8 in the last 11 meetings. That's I guess that's going back into last year too. What the one stat that jumped out at me was that the Lightning is 0-4 against the Western Conference and 0-5 their last 5 against the Central. They're not playing well against those conferences at all. That's kind of strange, I thought, to tell you the truth. The team is just underachieving, I guess, And for me, the Blues is definitely a lean tomorrow night. So we really got the Blues, and we have the Vegas Golden Knights as 2 good leans for tomorrow. Yeah. I guess we'll be visited on the show, on Jimmy's show tomorrow, and see what's happening.
One more team I wanted to.
What else you got, buddy?
One more team I wanted to mention. The team we talked about earlier, the Dallas Stars. They've been on fire lately. They're 10-1-1 in their last 12. They're playing Vancouver, who at home. And Vancouver was one of those teams that kind of got off to a pretty decent start, and back and forth. They've kind of cooled down a little bit now. They're a good young team, but tomorrow I would have I have a lean on the Dallas Stars and the under, like we talked about.
Gotcha. Yeah. That's a good look.
Yeah, 5.5.
That's a real good look. So what do we got going on tonight? Did you take any of the? There's only 2 games tonight.
I didn't. Washington's beating up on Anaheim right now, and
the game's over. 5-2 final.
5-2 final, and Arizona's playing
the Kings.
LA, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, they're up 2-0 end of the first period. So I didn't take nothing either. What did you do on the football game tonight? Did you take anything?
I did.
What did you do? What are you shaking your head about? The charges you took?
I thought the over. I like the over a lot, and I thought there'd be a lot of points because the last I saw it was KC put up a touchdown. It was 7-3, and
10-19 right now, KC.
Okay, that's all right.
I just asked the boys in the chat to give us a little because I don't have the game on in my room back here yet. I don't have all the technical monitors set up in the Who-Bangin Sports Talk studio
I
in
saw
Long Island, New
Dawkins
York.
on the under, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah, I took a shot with the Chiefs first half, Chiefs full game, and I took the under 53 and a half. I think
Did you?
was it 53 and a half or 53
I
or
got it at
52 and a half?
52 and a half.
I think it was 52 and a half. That's
that
right.
was
I
about
believe it
4
was.
o'clock today.
I don't think it was
my
53.
time.
Yeah, you took the under also?
Over.
Over.
No,
Yeah.
I'm on the over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But those games in Mexico are tough to figure out too sometimes,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And the NFL in general, I'll tell you, they do some weird stuff lately. They're, for me, they don't. The game has changed so much over the last 10 years. I've talked about it with a couple different guys. I started talking about how it changed since I was a kid, but even like in the last 10 years, it's just not it's not as good as the product as it used to be. I mean, these penalties that they're calling are just every time there's a play. I'm watching a game yesterday. I'm watching the Jets. They had the Jets on, and I was watching the Texans and Ravens game, which really made me just puke.
Me too.
Yeah, I mean, and plus I had the over 51, and the Texans. I took the Texans,
Yeah,
and I
so
took
did
the
I.
over. Yeah, you see, I mean, I thought that was such a sharp play. Yeah, sharp my ass. The Ravens have at the last 2 weeks in a row that I thought they were going to lose. They won. There's some team, but anyhow, the NFL. Every time there's a play,
give them
like
credit,
yesterday, a positive play for the Jet game. The first thing I'm looking for is a flag. I don't, every time. I'm thinking there's going to be a flag no matter what play is going. And these rule changes that they've made, I just feel like they've watered down the game, that they stopped like the flow of the game. The flow of the NFL game is just like it's penalty, stop, penalty.
I totally agree.
Commercial.
Yep. I totally agree with you. They're gonna.
I don't know what they could do about it, but it just. I mean.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like. Like you said, and I feel the same way. Every play, like you have a huge bomb touchdown. Oh, wait. Is there a penalty? You got to check first. Oh, no. Okay, we're good. You're right. It's getting ridiculous. The rough and the passer calls, the pass interference calls. Why they even brought in this pass interference replay, or you know what I'm talking about. The coach's challenge is stupid. They haven't, I don't know how many have been overturned, but not many. There was one yesterday DeAndre Hopkins was talking about. I missed that game. But I heard about Hopkins talking about it afterwards. He wanted a change of the head official or whatever it was because he didn't think that they made the right call. And it's just getting carried away. It's ruining the game, and you're going to start to see people shying away from it, and I can't blame them because they got to do something about it. They got to fix it. Get rid of the replays altogether, or do something. You got to modify it somehow, some way. There's got to be more. The referees have to, there has to be more integrity. You know what I mean? You can't just go to a replay all the time. It's kind of boring, to be honest. Kind of takes away from the human element of the game.
Right. No, I hear you. No, now you want to know why I'm laughing?
Yeah.
Because I asked to give us the score of the game. And I don't know how DJ wrote it, but the score isn't 10-19. It's 10-9. There's only been 19 points scored. I don't know.
I was getting excited there for a minute.
Sorry about that.
I'm down 10 points.
Oh, boy. I was like, knuckleheads.
That's all right. At least the Chargers are closer.
Oh, God. What I'm trying to get together is, not next week. I might have a special guest on next week, but the following week, I'm trying to get a panel together where we could talk about the NFL.
Yeah.
Whether it's fixed. I know some people think it's fixed, and I don't. But I want to get it. I would love to get a little panel going, and we're going to work on that. It can't be. It's a good subject. I don't want it to just be two of us. Maybe 3 or 4 of us would get on it. 2 people on opposite sides or somebody in the middle. It's a good discussion to have. There's definitely valid points on both sides, but we could definitely. I could see that you have some feelings on that, so we could definitely add you to that conversation. So you keep that in mind, and and we will be talking about it. What I do think is that the NFL, before we wrap this up, what I do think is the NFL does play favorites. I don't think the officials are bought off. I don't really think they're fixed, but damn, do they play favorites? I mean,
they sure do.
And these quarterbacks, when they're running, they're out of the pocket. They're 10 yards ahead of the line of scrimmage. You got guys coming from behind chasing them. Now they decide to slide. A guy now is trying to dive over them. If he just clips them, they throw a penalty.
Yeah.
It's just the crazy. And then, of course, Aaron Rodgers, like I mentioned at the beginning, and Tom Brady.
Tom Brady.
I don't know if you caught the beginning of the show, but I was talking about the Cleveland Browns and what happened with Myles Garrett at the end of the game.
Yeah,
with the helmet. And I said that 6-game suspension was bullshit, and they made it sound like he's going to be suspended for the rest of the year, and then they said for the playoffs, like the Browns are making the playoffs.
Yeah, as if.
But my point was, if that was Tom Brady, they might have had the cops on the field locking the guy, arresting the guy.
Yeah, you're right.
They might, there might have been a suspension of all next year, and so that was, that's something that's definitely one of my pet peeves about the NFL. But as far as going to say it's fixed, I don't know, but we will definitely have that discussion some other time.
Sounds
but
good.
Anyhow, I'll tell you, man, I didn't. I told DJ I'll try to stay on a half hour, 40 minutes if we can. And we're at 55 minutes, so time's rolling when you're having fun.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate you coming in for my first show. A little nerve-wracking for me, but I love doing it, and I love that you're going to be part of this with us, and it can only get better going forward.
Absolutely.
What we'll do is we'll come by at least every 20 games or so. We'll have Josh Point O's point from the point, And we'll keep up with our hockey, and who knows? Maybe we'll start giving out a couple picks here and there. I know I look forward to a good friend of yours and mine, Ian Cameron's hockey picks on Tuesdays. I think he goes Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, I believe.
Yep.
And I love shout out to Ian. I love his hockey picks and all his work and stuff. He's just one of the guys, one of our friends that one of the low baggers that definitely deserves a lot of respect in the NHL captain. But I'll let you go now, Josh. I really appreciate it, man.
Hey, absolutely, man. Thanks for having me on.
All right, brother.
All right, guys. Good night, everybody in the chat. Have a good night, all right?
All right. Thank you, Josh. That's Josh Point O, everybody, man. Great guy. It was a pleasure having him in. He made it a lot easier for me. Just talking to a friend and talking to somebody I know definitely made it a lot easier for me. Like I was talking about Ian and and all the Kappas, and before I go, let me just touch on something. It was going to be a Rici's rant, but I it's not like I'm really mad about it or anything. But and I'm glad people are listening, I guess. But I get these a couple DMs about me and about SBR and about us doing this show at the time that we're doing it, and about other shows that might be on at the same time. Listen, guys. We're just trying to do our own thing. This has nothing to do with SBR. This has nothing to do with anybody else. It just has to do with us. I mean, I love those guys over there. Jimmy's one of my best friends. He will remain one of my best friends. The guys at SBR I have much respect for. If it wasn't for them, we probably wouldn't have all met, or we would have met at a different level, at a different way. So, and as far as what time we do shows, and it's YouTube. People could watch anytime they want. I know a lot of people watch other shows that are on, and and I don't mind mentioning their shows. I know the live show was on with Jimmy and Max and Jay and Aunt L. Those guys, they do their thing, man, and that's all good. There's room for all of us, as I always say, and for what I'm going to be doing and the things we're going to be talking about. Hey, you can listen to it, after the live show. You can listen to it tomorrow morning. Or whatever. So for those couple DMs that I've got in, I won't say who it's from. I won't embarrass you guys like that. But there's nothing going on. I just haven't been on the chat as much because we've been busy with this. But I have much respect for everybody out there and over at SBR. I have much respect for former and present employees of SBR, and I'm sure you people could get the meaning of that. So I just wanted to put that to rest, man. We're all friends, and like I said, there's room for everybody. So before I go, I want to end up on a high note. Something I didn't know, and I guess I should have. I don't know who people that do know it, but I was watching that that Iowa Hawkeye game against Minnesota Gophers, and actually that was the game that we talked a lot about, and you know, something went on in that game that I really never knew about was that children's hospital that's overlooking the field. I was so impressed that for those that don't know, they in the state of Iowa, part of the children's hospital inside it overlooks that stadium, overlooks that field, and I guess their day room or their playroom is a big, open windows, and the kids could see the games going on and the atmosphere that goes on at a college game, which is just unbelievable. Anyhow, and in the state of Iowa, they of course. It's Iowa, so they really love their football team. There's not much else to do, I guess. So my point is that the team and the fans and the marching band, and they all just dedicate these games to the children and the marching band. I was going to put up a video of it, but I couldn't find the video I wanted. Maybe for next week I'll just put it on again because it's such a great story. The marching band formed the big hand on the field a couple weeks ago, kind of like a high five to the kids up on top, And I mean, what could be better than that? Kids, first of all, kids in the hospital. I mean, it breaks your heart. A lot of us are fathers, and a lot of us, fathers, we're mothers. We have, cousins, we have neighbors. It's just kids, man. Even if you have no family, nothing, everybody, don't want to see a kid in the hospital. And what they do for the university is great. The players at a certain part of the game, they all stand up and wave to the kids. Everybody in the stadium lights up their lighters and all their lights and wave to the kids, all in unison. So that's a big shout out to me for Iowa, the state of Iowa, the University of Iowa, all the people that work in that children's hospital and do what they can for the kids. I just think is great. So I just wanted to mention that and give them a big shout out. And I just want to give a big shout out to everybody for coming in. This is my first show. It's been a little bit crazy. I was a little nervous today doing it, but I tell you, I have a lot of fun doing it. I have some guests coming up in the future. I have a friend of ours who's an up and coming boxer and who's going to be fighting on a big card at the Barclays Center on December 7th. So you'll be seeing his promotions coming up on Who-Bangin Sports Talk. They're going to be doing some stuff for us, so that should be exciting. We've got a couple surprise guests that I'm sure you people will like, and we're going to go to some subjects, man. I'm going to talk about the live betting and its impact. I'm going to talk about the NFL making money left and right and how they want to now put 17 games on the schedule. Meanwhile, they're making money on all these new streams with the gambling, and listen, even Yahoo came on board now with sports betting. So we'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about if the NFL is fixed. I have a lot of topics. We have a lot of guests. We'll be interviewing some guys. I would love to see how people got started with their gambling and stuff, when they started, what it means to them. And, we'll do strategies. We'll do all that stuff. So hopefully you people stick with me. You'll stick with Who-Bangin Sports Talk. We'll be doing Wham Talk, which is the NBA, with Trot Wham, a great basketball guy. You all know about the Boss and the Sauce. That's the original show that started it all, with the Big Ragu and with DJ Big Boss. And then we have our lounge on Friday night where we just chill out, and you never know who's going to come on. Last week it was Ohio State fame David Boston, NFL star, who came on and talked with us, and I'm going to try to get him back on here, and we'll talk about some other stuff. So I just want to thank everybody again, and thank everybody who came in the chat. Love you guys. And Fernando's #1. Let's go Jets, baby. I see you. Okay, man. Thank everybody for coming in tonight. Thank you, Josh, for coming in on my first show. And we will see you soon on Light It Up. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Good morning, bookie bashes, run line smashes, total hustlers, dog line crushes. And this is Light It Up with your boy Dom Rici here.